So let's dive right into a question that has puzzled military strategists for decades. Why is Iran so incredibly hard to defeat?
I mean, think about it. If the most powerful armies on the planet are thinking twice before they even consider attacking a country, well, you've got to ask, what's so special about that place? Of course, we're talking about Iran. This is a nation that's weathered constant threats, crushing sanctions, and yet it's still a major power in its region. So, the big question we're tackling today is what exactly makes it so tough to beat?
So, we're going to break this all down. We'll look at 5 key things: its geographic choke point, a really different kind of military, its web of allies, how it survives under sanctions, and finally, this idea of united front.
All right, first up, a geographic choke point. You really can't overstate this. We have to start with what might just be the biggest piece of the puzzle: Iran's geography. Location, 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 right? Well, in this case, it's not just an advantage, it's pretty much their first and maybe their best line of defense.
And it all kind of boils down to this one number: 20%. Now, just seeing that number alone, you might think, okay, so what? But trust me, this single figure gives Iran massive leverage over the entire global economy. So what is that 20%? It's the amount of the world's total oil supply that has to pass through one tiny narrow strip of water, the Strait of Hormuz. And if you look at a map, Iran's coastline just completely dominates this critical choke point. And that's the real kicker, right? The so what of all this. If a conflict ever kicked off and Iran decided to shut down that route, boom, you're looking at a potential global oil crisis, like overnight. And that geographical fact alone is a huge deterrent. It forces every major power to think very, very carefully before making a move.
Okay, so geography is massive. But that's not the whole story. Backing up that strategic advantage is our second point, a very different kind of military. See, Iran's power isn't just about where it is on the map. It's about a military that plays a totally different game.
They know they can't go toe-to-toe with a superpower, tank for tank or plane for plane. So they don't even try. Instead, they've mastered something called asymmetric warfare. It's all about using unconventional tactics, smart weapons to hit an enemy where they're weakest. We're talking about a serious investment in advanced missile tech, a huge fleet of drones, and these super fortified underground bases that are incredibly hard to find, let alone take out.
And the crown jewel of this whole strategy? Their most powerful threat, for sure, is their arsenal of thousands of ballistic missiles. And make no mistake, these are not just for parades. They have the range, they have the precision to hit military targets pretty much anywhere in the region. That gives Iran a massive deterrent and a genuinely scary ability to hit back.
But Iran isn't fighting alone. And that brings us to the third key factor here. Its influence extends way beyond its own borders, thanks to this. Well, this complex web of allies.
Now, this is where things get really risky, really fast. You see, for decades, Iran has been building up this network of friendly governments and what are called proxy groups all over the region. So what does that mean? It means an attack on Iran probably wouldn't stay just an attack on Iran. It would almost certainly trigger a chain reaction, a domino effect, that could ignite a massive regional war and completely destabilize the whole Middle East. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about the economy. For years, Iran has been hammered by some of the toughest sanctions you can imagine. But all that pressure, it had a really surprising, and you could even say powerful, side effect. So the whole point of these sanctions was pretty simple: crush the economy, weaken the state. But what actually happened was kind of the opposite. Being so isolated forced Iran to look inward, to become way more self-reliant. It basically kicked their own tech and defense industries into high gear, just as a matter of survival. And of course, let's not forget the foundation of all of this. The country is sitting on an unbelievable amount of natural wealth. We're talking vast reserves of oil and gas. That has been an absolutely crucial economic lifeline. Even with all the restrictions, that income has allowed the state to survive decades of intense economic warfare. Okay, so we've got geography, we have this unique military, a network of allies, and this surprising economic resilience. But there's one last piece to this puzzle, and it's a bit harder to pin down. It's the power of the people and their ideology.
I mean, history tells us this over and over, right? A population that is united can stand up to even the strongest armies. There's that old saying, when the people of a country are united for their defense, it becomes very difficult to defeat them. That kind of unity, that's a nation's best defense, really.
And for Iran, this isn't just some nice idea. It's a core part of their whole defense strategy. That mix of intense national pride and a very powerful state ideology, they see that as an essential part of what makes them strong.
So you put all that together. Is Iran invincible? Well, no, that's probably going too far. No country is. But what's crystal clear is that trying to defeat it would be an unbelievably difficult, expensive, and messy business.
So let's just quickly run through those 5 pillars of strength again. You've got that key strategic geography, the asymmetric military doctrine, that network of regional allies, the economic resilience they've built, and a united population. It's the combination of all 5 of those things that makes Iran such a tough nut to crack. And all of this really leaves us with one last, pretty sobering thought. After everything we've talked about, if a major war did ever break out, what would that even do to the rest of the